Yell real loud if you can hear me. Yeah. Okay, all three. Oh, that looks better. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Yell if you can hear me. How about that? Yell if you can hear me. Okay, that was absolutely pathetic. All right, one more time. Yell if you can hear me. Much better. Guys, how are y'all doing tonight? If you do not know who I am, my name is AJ. I get the awesome opportunity to serve as our high school intern. Can I just go ahead and say something real quick? You guys are stinking awesome. I know y'all probably get told that all the time because y'all are legit and all that stuff, but you guys are awesome. We are so glad you're here. We are so glad even more that you could be doing other stuff, but you decided to come hang out with us, right? Do you think Epicenter is pretty cool? Give me a shout if you think we're pretty cool. Dude, y'all gotta get better at this. I've heard y'all cheer for your college football team. Let's try one more time. How many people think Epicenter is the most awesome part of the week? Go! There we go. That is beautiful. Guys, so we are wrapping up. That's so fun. That's like so fun. It's like just shh. Y'all are like looking at me like, why is he talking to me? Okay, anyways, so tonight we are wrapping up our final sermon of the One series. We have gone over being the one in dating, choosing the one in dating. We talked about being the one last week with Robbie. Who thought Robbie was amazing? Woo! Yeah, Robbie killed it. He did awesome. And tonight we are going to talk about choosing your friends, okay? Let me go ahead and tell you. Raise your hand if you got friends in here. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you're like, I don't have friends. That is so troubling. And I know you're lying because you're sitting beside somebody and I bet they're your friend. If not, you probably paid them and say, hey, will you sit beside me because I'm lonely, right? Who paid their friend to come sit beside them? Did anybody do that? You bunch of liars. Y'all are broke. I know how much money y'all make. Y'all are so broke. Do not even say that. Y'all are broke. I know. Hey, that's okay. All right, guys. So, just introduce about friends. I want to introduce you guys to some of my friends. All right, my first friend, his name is Nick. He's Nick. Let's see, picture right there. Look at that handsome devil. Man, look at that guy. Wow. God, that was so long ago. Who can tell me what year they think that was in high school? Okay, not like the actual year, but like junior, senior year, not senior year. Junior year. That was my junior year in high school, and that is my best friend. His name is Nick. He is actually going to be the best man in my wedding. We have known each other since 5th or 6th grade, I think. Let me just go ahead and tell you, we've gotten in a lot of trouble together, like more than what I want to tell you about, and we don't have no time for that. We could do a sermon just on how much trouble we've gotten in. But that is Nick. He is my best friend. Who has a best friend in here? Who has their best friend in here? Raise your hand. Okay, sweet, awesome. You're like, why does he tell me to raise my hand all the time? Because I'm going to get you involved tonight. Let me just go ahead and tell you, guys, I am so, listen. Shh. I'm so stinking pumped about what we're talking tonight. Like, you do not understand. When I got asked to do this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so fun. I guarantee you. I'm going to tell y'all stories about my life, and you're all going to give me heck for it later. It's probably going to be laughed at all the time. And then we're going to talk about Jesus. Who loves talking about Jesus? Give me an amen. Amen, that's what I'm talking about. Give me a little amen. Amen, that's what I'm talking about. Beautiful, awesome. You gotta get the little sass hand in. If you don't get the sass hand in, it doesn't work together, okay? All right? And so, I'm gonna tell you about my life. I'm gonna tell you about Jesus. We're gonna have fun, awesome. Also, second friend. Who do I have second? I don't even know who I have second. Let's see. Scroll down. Mr. Garrett Davenport. Look at that guy. That is beautiful. So this picture, well yeah. This picture was taken during our engagement pictures, okay? They're not mine and Garrett's, mine and Gabrielle's. Let's go ahead and get that clear. Me and Garrett are not engaged. He's my friend. But it was during mine and Gabrielle's engagement pictures, okay? Just so we don't have any gray area there, okay? I met Garrett at the camp that me and Gabrielle met at. And Garrett was the guy that when I first met him, I'll be honest with you, I thought he was kind of a turd. He kind of carried himself like higher than thou. I have told him this, so he does know how I feel about it, right? Now, Garrett is one of my groomsmen in my wedding coming up, and he is, look, outside of being an Auburn fan, he is one of my favorite people on planet Earth, okay? We know that Auburn is not of the Lord. Can I get an amen about that? Thank you. All right, sweet. I'm still praying for Garrett, and he's still trying to find the Lord completely. He's about halfway there, and he's given his life to Christ. But that part of Auburn, we're still working on that. Okay. So that's Garrett. Next we have Cam and Lydia. Okay. Cam and Lydia. Who knows Cam and Lydia? There we go. Some of y'all are like, woo! Some of y'all are like, who? Okay. So Cam and Lydia, they are like mine and Gabrielle's. They're like our it couple we do everything with here in Woodstock, okay? If you don't know, myself and Gabrielle are not originally from Woodstock. I am from South Carolina. Gabrielle is from Toccoa, Georgia, which is northeast Georgia. Woo! All right, whoever that was. Who was that? Oh, sweet. Thank you, Megan. Appreciate you. You're amazing. But yeah, so we're not from here, so obviously coming here, we had to find somebody to hang out with. We didn't want to be awkward and twiddle our thumbs and be like, oh, well, we're loners, whatever. So Cam and Lydia have been that it couple. This was actually taken at a Need to Breathe concert, which, by the way, if you have never been to a Need to Breathe concert, you have to go. Am I right, Joey? Give me an amen, Joey. Thank you, Joey. Who has been to a Need to Breathe concert? Give me a little hand raise. Perfect. Did y'all go to the one this past year in Atlanta? That's what I'm talking about. I was at that concert. That's where that picture was taken at. It was stinking awesome. Sorry, I'm getting all ADD. That's a side note, okay? Next, we have our lovely interns. Let's see that picture. Oh, look how beautiful that is. Look how beautiful that is. Look, we got Mr. Brian Octavek. Give me a shout for Jay Gotti. Give me a shout for that. That's what I'm talking about. Which, by the way, if you had not heard his podcast, make sure to hook him up wherever Brian is. Where's Brian at? Brian even in here? Brian, there you are, buddy. Hey, yeah, if you don't know, Brian's got kind of a podcast, so go talk to him about that later. It's pretty stinking good, I'm not going to lie. He did well. So there's Brian, and then David was our middle school intern who has just recently transitioned to Southeastern Seminary up in North Carolina. Then we have our college intern, Mr. Adam Pemberton. I don't know why that was hard. Then my little short self, I look like a hobbit. I already embraced it. I look like a hobbit. Look, I'm short. I get it. I know half of you are taller than me, and then the other half is just not blessed with size. That's okay. I get it. And so there's me, and then there's Brian. Can I get a amen for Brian? Can I get an amen? Can I get a shout for Brian Fandry? Where's Brian Fandry at? He is. Oh, there he is. What's up, Brian? Can I get a shout for Brian? Come on, 1, 2, 3, go. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And then this big old man across us is Marco. He just recently moved out to LA. He was Pastor Johnny's mentee. He is amazing. I call him Maui from Moana, as you can obviously see why, because he's massive. Good gosh. I'm not kidding. I thought I was about to have my shoulder fall out of my socket carrying that man. It's ridiculous. But obviously we love these guys. And then there's one other picture that I'm going to actually cue in just a second. Who has a friend they get in a lot of trouble with or do something with they regret? Yeah. And if you're not raising your hand, you have not lived, okay? Raise your hand if you have that friend. Come on. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so let me tell you a little story about my friend. Beautiful. I love that. That's so awesome. So let me tell you about my friends. Let's introduce you to Nick. So Nick, my best friend, one of my friends named James, who is also going to be a groomsman, and then another friend named Chandler, who is also a groomsman. We got bored one day. We got off work. We were kind of like, whatever. Side note, my best friend Nick, his dad is our pastor of our church back home. So that means unlimited access to every day. It was beautiful. Like, seriously, it was great. So we got bored, and we decided to go play hide and seek in the church, and it was so fun, okay? And we had this one kid named Cam. He was probably 15 at the time that we were kind of like mentoring and teaching him some stuff and whatever anyways. And so we're like, okay, Cam, you're it. We're going to go hide and come find us, okay? And he counted to whatever number he counted to, 30, 50, whatever it was. And so he counted, and so we went and hid, and we hid in the attic. Let me just go ahead and tell you, this story takes a wild turn, okay? We hid in the attic. It was about 15 minutes past. Cam couldn't find us, and it was awesome. And so we hid up there, and then all of a sudden, we hear this bang. He's like got a broom or something. He's like banging up there because he can hear us laughing, and we're just busting out laughing. We think it's the most hilarious thing ever. And so he finally gets up there, and we just scatter like fish, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know what to scatter like. But anyway, so we were scattered, and I was beside, so when you come up the ladder, you face like this way, and then James and Nick were on that side, me and Chandler were on this side, and we're like trapped, okay? So we can't go anywhere. So I'm sitting here like this, trying to figure out a way to get around Cam, and then, poor Chandler. By the way, I need to back up. This was his 25th birthday, okay? A 25-year-old playing hide and seek in a church. There's already the first problem, okay? And so he was playing hide and seek with us, and it's so funny because his mom, right before we started playing, said, so proud of you, son. You're finally 25. You're finally an adult. Meanwhile, we were playing hide and seek in the church, okay? And so, like I said, go back to where I was at. He was hiding and all that, and I was over here, and Chandler was kind of to my left. And then all of a sudden, I see Chandler do this. Who's ever been in an attic before? Do you know the part you're not supposed to step in, the little fluffy, cotton-looking part? All of a sudden, I see this beam of glorious heaven come out of his foot, and all of a sudden, there's a light, and he goes, uh-oh. And I'm like, Chandler, why'd you say uh-oh? All of a sudden, Cam jumps back down on the ladder. He goes, I see a foot through the ceiling. And can we get that picture, please? Let's just go ahead and see that. Yeah, look at that. He is clean through the ceiling, people. He is fully through the ceiling, okay? And let me just go ahead and tell you, that was not a good day. First of all, it was his birthday, and then he had to pay, like, a lot of money to get that fixed. Yeah, so that was so much fun. Poor Chandler, I give him heck about it all the time. You can literally, if you go into our hallway, you can see where they patched it. Like, it's such a different color from everything else. Oh, my gosh. And, yeah. So we call him Bigfoot. It's horrible. But last but not least, my favorite person on planet Earth outside of Jesus Christ, that is none other than my fiancée, Gabrielle Beck. Oh, no. Oh, look at those handsome devils. Man, I look good. Amen. Thanks, babe. Appreciate that. So my best friend, Miss Gabrielle Beck, I am going to go ahead and just have a sweet, sappy moment. Sorry about this, whatever. I am so excited to be married in a short little time. We're going to have an awesome time. I'm so happy to be doing ministry with her, so happy to be doing life with her. It is incredible. Let me just go ahead and tell you, we are not perfect by any stretch of imagination, and we are not going to pretend like we ever are. But let me just go and tell you, I am glad if I have anybody in the trenches with me, it is Gabrielle Beck. And yes, I'm getting brownie points, so keep nodding your head, Davis. I like that. So, but yeah, now on a serious note, guys, that is my best friend. I do everything with her. She's incredible. She's amazing. And yeah, so we can stop with the sappy stuff now, okay? All right, and I can be a man. Okay, awesome. All right, guys, so if you can turn in your Bible to 1 Samuel chapter 18, if you're like, oh my goodness, where's 1 Samuel? It's before 2 Samuel. So go ahead and look for it. And as you're turning to it, guys, I just want to throw a few quotes out for you. Friendship is one of those things that is universal no matter where you go, right? There's a handful of things in the world that happens everywhere. Music happens everywhere. Relationships happen everywhere. People die, people live everywhere, okay? One thing to throw into that is friendships, okay? Last week we talked about being a friend and what that looked like, and like I said, Robbie did an awesome job. I talked about Mark chapter 2, and that was just a beautiful, beautiful illustration of what true friendship looks like and being a friend. And so tonight we're going to talk about choosing your friend, okay? And so, yeah, we'll just dive right into it. 1 Samuel chapter 18, 1 through 5, okay? As soon as he had finished speaking to Saul, the soul of Jonathan was knit to the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day and would not let him return to his father's house. Then Jonathan made a covenant with David because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of his robe that was on him and gave it to David, and his armor, and even his sword, and his bow, and his belt. And David went out and was successful wherever Saul sent him, so that Saul sent him over the men of war, and then was good in the sight of the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servant. Okay? So to give you a little background knowledge, Jonathan was Saul's son, King Saul's son, okay? So as we know how kings and priests work, right? When the king finally moves on, whether he passes away or whatever happens, right? The prince is the one who comes and takes his place, right? And so justifiably, we know Jonathan, because he's a son of King Saul, is the one who kind of steps up into the next place of being the king, right? Rewind one chapter back. One chapter back, this is a story that we all know, whether you've been in church or not. It's the story of David and Goliath, right? Obviously, David is this young kid. He's handsome. He's strong. He's all this stuff. He has a heart after God. And he goes and he kills the 9-foot giant with a slingshot and a stone and kills him. And then he goes, dead. And then he cuts off his head, and it's awesome. And so that's chapter 17. So David just defeated Goliath, which could not be done, right? And so as a result of that, King Saul saw favor on David. Of course, you're going to find favor on the person that defeated something that you could never defeat, right? If I said, okay, I'm going to go sign, let's do a football analogy this week. I'm going to go sign Tom Brady to the Atlanta Falcons, and I know half of y'all just cringed when I said that. I am so sorry, but it's just what I'm using because we're in Atlanta, okay? So I'm using Tom Brady, Atlanta Falcons, whatever, okay? And I said, all right, we cannot beat the New Orleans Saints, all right? We keep struggling, we keep having a hard time, and so Tom Brady's going to be the person that finally does it for us, right? And then Tom Brady does it, and all of a sudden he gets this major contract extension, all this stuff, and he sees favor in the owners and the GM's eyes, right? Right? So because he did this deed, because he did whatever he was asked to do, right, he is found favored in the higher power. Does that make sense? And so same thing here. David has found favor in the sight of King Saul, and because of that, he is kind of seen as the top dog around Israel, okay? Jonathan was King Saul's son. Jonathan also was considered to be a powerful, powerful man, okay? You don't get to be a king's son and get to be a wimp, right? So Jonathan was considered to have a heroic faith, as we see in 1 Samuel 14:6, very courageous in 1 Samuel 14:7-14, and had a self-sacrificing friendship, as we'll see in just a second, in 1 Samuel chapter 8. But what I want to point at is that Jonathan was a very powerful man who had a lot of authority, okay? This man could put people to death. He had that kind of power, okay? He was capable of a lot of things. He could pull off a lot of things. He could do a lot of things because he was King Saul's son, okay? He was like, here's King Saul, and then here's Jonathan, here's everybody else, okay? Does that make sense? So, like, he was up there, okay? And what he could have done in chapter 18 is he could have said, you know what, this David guy, like the one that keeps getting all this praise, nah, you ain't gonna take my spot. You ain't gonna run this town. Are you kidding me? Right? No, heck no, right? Like, I own this place. Like, Jonathan's literally going, what's up? Right? He's like, y'all probably all thinking I'm weird, aren't y'all? How many people think I'm weird right now? Wow. Well, I'm going to go back behind my podium, okay? All right, but as we see in chapter 18, Jonathan did not do this, right? 2 points I want to make about Jonathan tonight as it goes to choosing a friend, okay? First point, Jonathan backed God's call on David's life. Jonathan backed God's call on David's life. Let's look at verse 3 and verse 4 again. Then Jonathan made a covenant with David. Let's stop there. A covenant, all right? A covenant is a promise between God and man, okay? So for this example, it's a covenant between God and David and Jonathan, okay? He's saying, hey, I am surrendering to God's authority, but I'm also surrendering to your authority, okay? As we see later on in 1 Samuel, we find out that King David David becomes king, right? As we read through all the Old Testament, we hear about King David as we hear transition into Matthew 1, talking about the lineage of Jesus in Matthew chapter 1. So we hear that King Saul skips over Jonathan, and King David becomes the rightful king, okay? So that's a covenant. He made a covenant between him and God and David, okay? Because he loved him as his own soul. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was on him and gave it to David and his armor and even his sword and his bow and his belt, all right? You see, Jonathan didn't just surrender because David's a cool guy. right? How many, do you know that person in your school who kind of like is the top dude or the top girl, and like everything goes right for them, and like they can get whatever they want done, they can do whatever they want, get away with it, whatever, and like they can get all the friends in the world, right? Who knows that person? I had that person in my high school. I'm not going to tell you his name because Lord forbid he watches or whatever. Don't think he is. But that top guy, right? And because of that, Jonathan and David knew. Hold on, let's back up. Have you ever had that moment where you go off a little rabbit trail and you just forget what you were saying? I just had that. All right, let's back up. All right, there we go. Perfect. So Jonathan did not surrender to David because he was just a top dog, right? Right? Just like we said, he's the top dog on campus, the top dog on Israel because he just defeated Goliath, which was an impossible task. And because of that, he's kind of put on a pedestal, right? But Jonathan didn't do that because David was a big and righteous, holy man, right? He did that. He had the covenant. He surrendered himself to him because he knew, get this, he knew that God put him in a place that he was never going to be. Oh. You see that? He put David in a place that was rightfully Jonathan's, that Jonathan could have justifiably said, what the heck is going on around here? He could have looked at God and go, God, have you not seen how the past thousands of years have happened? Like, everybody who is the king or the son of the king is to become the next king, and you're going to kick me off for what? I've been loyal to you. I've been faithful to you. I've been following your word. I've been doing everything that you've asked me to do, and you're putting David, he's done one thing. What has he done? Jonathan justifiably could have done that, right? I mean, by all means. I mean, he's the king of Saul. I mean, he has a justifiable reason to say, you know what, I'm mad, right? How many times, or how likely would it be that you would be that person that gets mad over that? I'm going to go and tell you, if that was me, I could not handle it like Jonathan did. I could not sit there and go, well, okay, you can just have it. Let me dust it off for you. Here you go. It's right nice. Let me get the carpet all nice and clean for you. Do you want to step on my back to get up there too? I mean, does it look nice? Do you want some steak with it as well? That would not be me. I'd be like, and just knock it over and walk off. I'd be like, you ain't doing that. That's my steak. I'm taking that, whatever. I could not handle that like Jonathan did, right? But here's the thing. That bond that was put between David and Jonathan was not a selfish bond. It was not a bond saying, hey, I'm going to run the show, you're going to stay on the side, and we're just going to be good. Or it's not a bond saying, hey, I'm going to be the king now, so Jonathan, you just kind of play the side part. Okay? We obviously see that their bond is not easily broken, as it talks about in Ecclesiastes chapter 4, how a bond is not easily broken, two or three together, right? So their bond was close-knit, was tight, and we see this very clearly in 2 Samuel chapter 1 when King Saul and Jonathan go into battle, and they get a report that they just died in battle. Okay? And so what happens in verses 11 and 12 of 2 Samuel chapter 1 is they go and they fast and they weep over the death of King Saul and Jonathan, and they rip their clothes, and they're just like, they're distraught of what just happened. Like, Jonathan was devastated over what just happened to David. Like, it'd be like me losing Gabrielle or my best friend Nick. I would go ahead and tell you, I would be distraught. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. I would be like, oh my gosh, what's happening right now, right? He was not only distraught because he lost a friend. Let me go ahead and just tell you this. He was distraught because he knew he had somebody that backed him with God's call. You see, Jonathan showed very evidently in 1 Samuel chapter 18 that he was not surrendering to just David. He was surrendering to God. He was saying, God, I may not agree with this. I may not like it. I may not love it. But God, if this is your will, then I'm going to follow it. If David's supposed to be the king and that's what you want for us, and I'm not supposed to be king and I'm just supposed to serve him, then God, so be it. You probably think in the back of David's mind in 2 Samuel chapter 1, he's probably like, oh my gosh. I just lost a brother, a friend. I lost a guy who's been with me in the trenches. Guys, Jonathan literally covered for him when King Saul was trying to come after him and kill him. As we find out later on in in 1 Samuel chapter 19. He was jealous because of what David has found a success in, and that he has kind of taken over the whole realm of Israel. And Jonathan literally takes David's side and says, you know what, this is God's will. I'm not going to agree with what you're saying, Dad. I'm going to respect you and honor you. But God's will for David's life is to be the king that succeeds after you. And so I'm going to follow him. I'm going to follow God's will. I'm going to choose that. He's going to be a friend who chooses God's will and is going to be the one that is by his side. Hey, you want a friend to have in your life? Choose one that will be with you through thick and thin, no matter what happens. Have a friend who's going to be there with you when everybody else runs away from you, when you say, God's will for me is to be a missionary over in Africa. Or God's will was for me to leave a big church and go do a church plant in the middle of nowhere, Wyoming. Find a friend who's going to be with you and support you, not only financially, but through prayer and through being there to serve you, and find any other way to help you out. Don't have a friend who's going to bail on you whenever God says, hey, guess what I have for you? And they're like, no. That's not a friend, that's an acquaintance. There's a huge difference. The Bible talks about it very clear in Proverbs chapter 18. Find a friend who's going to be with you in the trenches. You talk about it all the time with sports, right? Coaches always say, I want a guy that I can be in the trenches with. Guys, you want a friend who's going to be in the trenches with you. Choose a friend who's going to be with you through thick and thin, highs and lows, laughs and cries, bloodshed or not. Be there with them because they were there with you the whole time. And have a friend who's going to be with you there the whole time, okay? So that's the first point. Jonathan submitted to David's call on his life. Second point, Jonathan showed a sacrificial love. I'm a huge fan of country music, and Eric's going to love this if he watches this. But there's a song by Tracy Lawrence, and you may not have heard of him. He's a little older country. Sam Grayson, where are you at? You know who Tracy Lawrence is? That's what I'm talking about, bro. I like that. He has a song they did a mashup with a few country artists, with Tim McGraw and Kenny Chesney and stuff like that, called Find Out Who Your Friends Are. And here's the chorus of it. You find out who your friends are, somebody's going to drop everything, run out and crank up their car, hit the gas, get there fast, never stop to think what's in it for me, or it's way too far. They show on up with a big old heart. You find out who your friends are. Guys, Jonathan shows a sacrificial love in verse 4. He shows, let's just read it. And Jonathan stripped himself of the robe that was on him and gave it to David and his armor and even his sword and his bow and his belt. Guys, to do this was a really big deal. He is literally stripping himself of his majesty and his glory that he has as being a part of the king's family. He's literally saying, oh, okay, this is yours, right? See what I did there? This is yours. Sorry. He literally takes it off and surrenders it before David and says, hey, this is yours. You're going to be the king, so I'm surrendering it to you. Here you go. Right? This is similar in 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 19, when Elijah surrenders over to Elisha. Right? He goes out and he finds Elijah plowing in the field, and he gives his cloak and he gives it to Elisha and says, here you go, this is yours, right? This is going to be your authority now. You're going to be the next person that sees me, okay? 1 Kings chapter 19, verse 19, I don't have time to go there, but go read that, and it's a cool story. And so it's literally taking all of his stuff off. I'd be like an army man coming up to you right now, and you just got told you were the next sergeant. And he came up and said, all right, here's my gun, here's my knife, here's my radio, here's my helmet, here's my chest protector. Here you go, that's yours. Jonathan is sacrificing himself to David and saying, hey, this is who I am. This is what has defined me for so long. This is what everybody knows me as. This is what my title is in Israel. And so here you go. Here is me. Once again, Jonathan could have justifiably said, no. That's mine. Instead, he goes, you need a friend who will sacrifice for you too. Choose a friend who's going to be willing to give up some time for you. Get a friend who's going to be able to come pick you up when you have a flat tire in the interstate and your parents can't get to you. Be a friend, or have a friend who's going to who's going to willingly give up their Friday night when they can go be watching a football game because you're home with a broken heart from an ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend. Get a friend who's going to sacrifice their time, maybe just hanging out playing Xbox or watching Netflix to come and just do life. And those are so small in the whole realm of things. But guys, the little things adds up to a beautiful friendship. But here's the thing. There's a person that is bigger than me and you and those best friends that you decide to choose. And his name, I don't know, you might have heard it once or twice if you've come here often. His name is Jesus. Okay? And we talk about him all the time because that's the only message we have to proclaim. I love, it's so funny, I heard somebody a few weeks ago go, you always talk about the gospel and Jesus. Duh. I mean, what are we going to talk about? Come on. I mean, what? I'd be like going to McDonald's and listen to them talk about seafood all the time. That makes no sense at all. Why would they talk about seafood? And I know some of you are like, they have a fish sandwich. I don't care. They're not seafood, okay? All right? They're not or better yet, that'd be like Chick-fil-A talking about hamburgers. That does not make any sense at all. I don't care what you say. That makes no sense. Okay, sorry, we're getting off track. But yes, Jesus Christ, here's the third point. Jesus Christ is the greatest friend of all. Can you say that again? Jesus Christ is the greatest friend of all. Just like Jonathan, Jesus Christ surrendered to God's call. You can look at the time in the Garden of Gethsemane, Matthew chapter 26, verse 39, where he says, if this cup can pass from me, let it pass from me, but thy will be done, right? He's not saying, God, take this away from me. Hurry, hurry, hurry. I know you can do it, do it, do it, do it. Or he could have even said, no, I'm not doing it, right? But he said, thy will be done. God's will be done, right? And he also displayed a sacrificial love. Flip with me real quick to John chapter 15, 13 and 15. John chapter 15, 13 through 15. Greater love has no one than this, that someone lay down his life for his friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends. For all that I have heard from my Father, I have made known to you. I just want to read that first part of chapter 15 one more time. No longer do I call you servants, for the servant does not know what his master is doing, but I have called you friends. Let me just put this in perspective for you. Jesus Christ is known for a lot of things. He's known for being a good person, a good teacher, whatever. But God, he's also capable of doing miracles. For example, he turned water into wine in John chapter 2, 1 through 11. He healed a leper in Mark chapter 1, verse 40 through 45. He resurrected a man, like literally just, pulled him up. There he was. He's back. He resurrected Lazarus in John chapter 11, 38 through 44. And even better than that, you ready? You ready? Oh, this is going to be so tweetable. I guarantee it. Oh, man, it's going to be so good. You ready? You ready? You ready? I'm so excited to tell you this one. He overcame death. Woo! Yeah! Woo! Man, I got a little sweaty on that one. Man, oh my gosh. Look. I'm going to jump down real quick. I'm so excited. You ready? Hey, guess what? The Jesus Christ who called you friend overcame death. Are you kidding me? Let's try this. I wish we could do a science experiment when somebody dies and then see, okay, are you going to pop back up? Nope. Oh, no, we don't need volunteers, right? Like, this man literally was dead. No pulse, no nothing. Yes, I'm turning into Eric. I'm so sorry. Like, let that sink in. He was dead, guys. Jesus Christ was dead for you and for me, and he calls you friend. Holy cow. I know some of you are laughing at me, but I don't care. Guys, this guy took a beating for you and me when he didn't have to. Matthew chapter 27, when he's on trial before the Pharisees, he could have rightfully taken himself off, but he said nothing. Barabbas got to go free, and he went to the cross for you and for me because he's the best friend you could ever find. So if you need a friend to choose, choose Jesus. He's the friend who will never fail you. He's a friend who will always be there for you. He's a friend that's going to be in the trenches with you. He's going to be on the mountaintop, and he's going to be in the valley. He's going to give you that sacrificial love, and he's going to help you surrender to God's call because he is God in flesh. So tonight, the invitation is real simple. I'm going to make my way back up here. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Appreciate it. So tonight is very simple. Some of you are looking at me and thinking I'm the craziest guy in here. Thank you. I see like one little faded clap. I like that. Some of you are thinking, wow, this is just nuts. I have no idea what I got myself into. Welcome to Epicenter. If you think I'm crazy, you should meet my boss. He's awesome. The invitation is simple, guys. Some of you, this might be your first time, or your first time in a while, or for a lot of you, I guarantee you've been in here multiple times, all the time, every single week. You are faithful, you're loyal, and for that, let me just go ahead and tell you, thank you. You are the backbone of this ministry, and I want to thank you for that, seriously. And some of you are sitting here thinking, wow, he got really passionate about this Jesus guy. He literally jumped down. I almost thought I broke my ankle, but I didn't. It's okay. Like he was so passionate. He was yelling at us. Guys, you want to know why? Because that Jesus guy I believe in. That Jesus guy changed my life radically. And that Jesus guy who I just talked about does all these miracles, great teacher, and is literally God in flesh, died for me. He died for you. So for some of y'all, you need to surrender to that guy. Because here's the thing. When you become friends with him, your life is going to be so awesome. I promise you. It's going to be amazing. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be easy and it's going to be perfect, but it will change. Some of you guys came in here looking for a change, and let me go ahead and tell you, Jesus is that change. He's a friend who will never fail you, never leave you, be with you anywhere and everywhere, and I believe in that Jesus. The question is, do you?